be.
Okay, who I'm talking to? The camera or you?
Talk to
Talk to the
Tony.
camera. Yeah, sure.
Talk to the camera.
Yeah. Nathan's hitting the questions. I'm just the cameraman.
I'll just get the ball rolling, get you talking.
Yeah.
Just everybody's introduced themselves, so if you can just
Okay.
introduce yourself to the camera.
Okay. Hey, what's up, camera? I'm Storm. I'm from Battle Squad, old school B-Boy crew from Germany. I started breaking in 1983, and I got caught by it, so it took me with it until this day. And I never plan to stop. So I kind of like, I know that I'm gonna do this until the end of my days.
So your love for breaking, and that love, and then that meeting of second to none. Can you remember that first time when you heard about them, saw them, met them? What was it like, man?
Well, the story is really short actually, because I never heard of them before. You know, there was this guy Tepster from Germany. He told us once that he went to England, but he only told us about this guy that he met in Covent Garden, who was spinning on his head. His name is Melvin. So that's all we heard of England. You know, we knew that the scene was dead in London, so we never really expected anything coming out of England, right? There was this competition in Munich, Germany, in 1989. I remember it was right after the opening of the wall. There was this competition, and we wanted to participate. And all of a sudden, Tepster, he came with the crew from England, and we were like, "Who are these guys?" You know, and also just because we didn't expect anything, and we only heard of Melvin, and we heard that nothing was going on there. Of course, on a technical level or something, we didn't expect anything, right? And then there was this blonde, tall guy in the crew. I remember we were like, "Well, he can't be any good."
Brilliant.
You know?
Excellent.
And you know, that's what we were just, you know, how you check out B-Boy. Sometimes you give them a handshake and you already know, you know, by the palms and by the calluses they have in their hand, if they've been practicing or not, you know.
Yeah.
You look on their heads if they have head spin spot and stuff, you know. So we couldn't really spot anything. And what I will never forget, I mean, we introduced each other, you know, we said hello, we were warming up little bit together, you know, but there was this one particular moment that I definitely will never forget in my life, and I tell this to everybody. I even wrote that in my book. There was this moment, I remember there was this warm-up room in the back, and then there was the main venue, and you know, like main venues, it already sounds big, right? It was big. It took me about, like, let's say, 30 steps or something to cross the room. And I remember I was in the warm-up area. I opened the door. I don't know, I had to go to the loo or something. I opened the door, and then I saw Tony. He was there, and you know, he just started spinning on his head, right? So when I opened the door and I looked at him, there was just a second when he let his hands go, right? And I was like, you know, I was already like, oh shit, the speed. You know, already like, I mean, at that time.
Yo, check it out. Tony the Pencil in the house, check it, yeah. Check out the shit. I'm out, peace.
Okay, right, bloody hell. Carry on, door. The
So
guy's
I gotta
crazy.
say it again. Gotta say it again. So I opened the room. I opened the door to the main venue, and when I walked in, Tony would just let his hands go, you know, and he just started spinning, you know, freely. And I looked at it and I was just like, man, the speed already. And I was just thinking the speed. At the same time, all his boys were around, right? So I could, like, you know, like B-Boy mentality. You had to be like, oh man, that's nothing. So that's the kind of like thing that I wanted to express with my body language. I don't think if it worked out, you know. So I was walking, and I realized, you know, from the corner of my eye, I didn't really look at it, but I realized from the corner of my eye, man, this guy is still spinning. He's still spinning. Oh shit, he's still spinning. So I walk across, and when I closed the door on the other side of the room, when I closed the door, I stopped. I was like, damn, this guy is still spinning, you know. So I crossed the whole venue, and he was still on his head, and that's something until this day, you know, I've never ever seen like that. Especially, you know, like the posture, you know, the figure he had, you know, like everything was so drilled and so, you know, you could tell that he's done that a million times. You know, the way he's done it, and the speed and everything, you know. You know how some people, you know, they just think of like, okay, how many rounds can you do spinning on your head? You know how people are just thinking like, okay, let's count how many rounds. See, when I walked through, you know, like there, I was thinking, yeah, he spins for a long time. But at the same time, the style of head spin until this day, nothing like that, man. Like an ice skater on his feet, you know, he was spinning on his head. You know? So that's something I'll definitely never forget. So from that moment on, I knew, oh shit, we're gonna have a hard time today. You know, until that moment, you know, my thought was that I was gonna do a head spin in my solo. So from that moment, I was like, all right, let me forget that real quick and let me combine everything I have in my solo so that we have a chance. So we ended up making first place all together, which was actually really good because there came the second experience. 2 months later, we got to do a TV show in Germany, which is actually really, really famous. Up until this day, people are talking about it. And that is when, you know, because another thing is like, until that moment, Battle Squad us, we thought we can take this competition by ourselves. But then, you know, we joined together, you know, Dizzy Foot Tribe, they were called, from Berlin. Kai Eickermann, Kai Löwel, Harry, all them guys, they were there with us. We were very good friends, you know, so we were like, look, come on, man, let's get together, you know, let's do this together. Because second to none, they are together with Supreme Force, you know, otherwise we won't have a chance. You know, so we got together, them guys got together, so we got the chance. Since we all got first place that night. I don't know if it was justified. When I look at the video, I still think that actually Second to None deserved it. Right, you know, Second to None had some weak members from Supreme Force basically in it. They haven't been really breaking for a long time, and I guess that made it. All of us, we were really into it. So
you and Swift had crazy footwork though at that point. Your footwork was fucking wicked, man. And we were looking at you thinking, because we had the power and we were like, look at their footwork, man. Nick was like, look at their footwork, look at their footwork.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to, yeah, so that's Swift's fault then. Because actually, you know, for a long time I was mainly about power, and only because Swift was always practicing footwork, it inspired me so much that I said, like, all right, you know, let's do this together. And, you know, like with the inspiration, it went back and forth and stuff. Yeah.
So from that first meeting.
So and then 2 months later we got to do this TV show with Swift and me. We came pretty late, but still, you know, it was really nice hanging out with everybody. And even also the same night after the competition at the youth club, I don't even think that we slept that night. We were just talking, talking about different things, videos we had, videos they had. Also, like we already set up, like, okay, where we gonna meet again, and so on and on and on. You know, so it was really nice. Also, Tony came to Berlin after, I remember, which was really nice. You know, like I was living in North Germany at that time. I wasn't living in Berlin yet. I was living in North Germany, and I convinced my girlfriend to go to Berlin on a motorcycle, you know, just so we can hang out and stuff, you know. So that was something. So I stayed with Swift for a couple of days. We stayed in Berlin just to practice with Tony and to have a good time and stuff.
I remember that. Yeah, I got that footage just when I had that really bad groin problem.
Yeah.
Like, man, my groin.
Yeah. That's, and I have to say, you know, I don't know if the video is going to be part of the footage on the DVD.
Yeah.
Maybe you put something into it, because, you know, like, that's when I see, Tony was doing his head spins there. Before, I couldn't figure out what he was doing. He was just spinning, and with this amazing speed and stuff. So, of course, I tried immediately to spin with that speed. And that was my problem, because, you know, you gotta walk before you run, right? So then when he came to Berlin, I saw he was doing his drills for the first time. Even like when I saw him in Munich, he wasn't doing his drills. It was just that he had the speed, and then he went up, he closed his feet, you know, after like, let's say 2 or 3 pencils, you know, like he fell or he went down, you know, like in a smooth way. But the thing was, when he was in Berlin, for the first time I saw his drills. And that's when I studied it, you know? So I was looking at him, I was like, oh, so all of a sudden it snapped, and I realized, okay, so that's how it goes. You know, so that was the moment where I constantly, from that moment on, when I practiced on my head spins, that's what inspired me the most when he came to Berlin, and I actually saw the way of doing it. I saw the way on how he practiced, so that gave me the, you know, that, you know what I mean? So when people are asking me, I always say Tony was the one that actually inspired me the most for the head spin. And also, of course, because at that time Tony was also talking about the guys from Australia, you know, about their head spins, and he brought the video with him. So that was the first time I saw the ball head spin, and at that same time I was like, well, I want to learn that too. So I was practicing right away. I was practicing on my ball head spins into the drills, you know. So that's what made me go. So without Second to None, man, without all this, the level of European b-boying, you know, right now, or even back in the days, the way it was known, they took it to a different level. I remember the video that Tony brought as well, you know, where they were practicing in their youth club, always to the same beat, you know, to the graffiti rock stuff. You know, they had like this mix
Rock
from
at
the
your
video.
own risk. Yeah.
Play at your own risk on graffiti rock. So they were practicing to that, and there was this one particular moment where Swift and me, where we were always rewinding, where Asa, you know, like Swift was the man for the tracks, for the halos, you know. So we would always look for it, and we were like, man, how does he do that, you know, with the speed and everything? And then we realized he's doing top rock, he's talking to one of the other guys, and while he's talking, he's just like, whoop, and he goes into tracks without even looking at the floor and stuff. And we're like, look at that, he doesn't even look at the floor, you know, he just does it. So, you know, I'm sure that Asa didn't even realize it to this day because it's so natural for him, the way he did it, you know. But that's the way we've seen it. It was like, look, when it looks that natural, that's how it's supposed to be. So innocently naive, you know, like just like, and you get into the move and you do your thing, you know. So it was just amazing, you know, the power moves they did. Nick I always liked for his flavor, you know, his footwork, fast, everything, the way he combined stuff and stuff. He already had like something that later on we called the atomic style in his footwork. Something, you know, like most of the time, even today when people are doing footwork in battles and stuff, something I still don't understand. They miss a lot of the rotation. Something you automatically learn when you get more into power moves because you always rotate. You know, you kind of like get a feeling for where you are, you know, like in the room. So you get the spatial awareness. Now, and also Nick, when he was moving, when he was doing his footwork, he was constantly rotating. So his body was rotating one way, his feet would go the other way, you know, so it's you're spinning and orbiting. That's why we call it the atomic style later on, you know. So, and he was doing it in a very, very nice way, you know. Like he kind of like he probably with Tony he had the longest legs in the crew. So of course,
I got
you know,
really
like,
freakily long legs, man. Yeah, they are a bit. Yeah.
John's
you know,
pretty
so.
tall.
Yeah, but with John it always looked different, you know. What was amazing about John is like, we always said, man, this guy, he looks like a farmer, you know, but look at the way he breaks. He had all these incredible moves. He wasn't very fast or anything, just like, you know, you could tell, like, you know, with the way he was built, as tall as he was, you know, and also like, you know, he always looked a bit heavy, you know. He didn't really have so much rhythm or something, but at that time too, that didn't even matter, you know. I remember also at CH Fresh, when I met everybody again at CH Fresh, when, you know, I was just standing there in the crowd, or with all the other breakers and stuff, and John was spinning on his head, and people were like, man, this guy just never stops. He's just spinning forever. At CH Fresh, he was the man with the longest head spins, and everybody was talking about it at the end of the night, you know. So even though, you know, of course it's getting a bit boring for a normal spectator to see this, you know, but when you know how to do head spins and you're not at that level, you know, but you know how it feels when you're spinning, no arms on the floor, no hands on the floor, you just spin and you spin, and people do not realize the feeling. You know, that when you're spinning and you just keep going and you keep going, you're closing in, you keep going, you get into your drills, you keep going, and you stop when you want to stop, or actually when the spin stops. It's like it's one of the best feelings in the world. It's like, you know, how little children, I see that on my son, right? You know, look, all these office chairs. That's why children, they love to play with office chairs. They sit on it, they spin around with it, and they don't want to stop. Now, when you do head spins, you don't need an office chair anymore, you know? So you just go for it. And that's, you know, like for us, it was really like that. This is something, you fall into a trance, man. Also at jams, you know, people were always asking me, man, you know, it's enough now, it's getting boring. Can't you show us something else? I was like, well, don't you realize we're not doing this for you guys?
They did it for me, yeah.
We're doing it for ourselves, yeah. You know, and it's something, you know, when I saw John, when I saw him spinning on his head and he went on forever, you know, like, it's just like, I was like, man, I want to spin this long. I want to do this.
So it's obvious this crew, Second to None, had a massive impact on you and the whole European scene at that time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They brought, were they bringing stuff that you guys, you know, were they there on another level, do you feel?
For the power moves, they were definitely on another level, yeah. I mean, until this day, there's, you know, like, there's nobody for Tony's head spins. I've never ever seen a head spin that stylish again, you know, and not just the way, you know, like when also, when Tony started spinning, he always had this twistoflex effect. You know, where his upper body would go first and his legs would rotate like whoop, whoop, and his upper body and whoop, whoop, his legs and offside, whoosh, and he goes into the spin. Nowadays, everybody's like body posture, just everything straight, and people only pump with their hands. You know, that's something, you know, like also sometimes it looked like as if Tony had like a real loose hip or something, because, you know, like he had this stretch with his leg that went to the back. You know, where I always had a problem with, because, you know, every time when one knee of mine would go back, you know, I would really have a problem, you know, I would lose my center and so on, you know, so that's something I've never ever seen again.
And those
So
pencil
it
drills.
almost looks like a cartoon, you know what I mean? Like in a cartoon, they would paint it like that, you know? They would go like, okay, first upper body, legs would follow. First upper body, then legs would follow. Same thing until this day. Then also Nick for his floats, for his turtles. When I saw those turtles for the first time, that was amazing. It's just that most of the time when he was doing it at a jam, he would always finish on his belly because he would fall at some point, you know? But always like at an amazing speed. You know, and also like Asa for his triples, for his halos, that was amazing. And then of course, you know, like, then you had Daryl with his power. Daryl was just like, also something that we used to say, man, these two brothers, they look like as if they get in shape on the dock or something. They live in Bournemouth, you know, they must get in shape on the dock somewhere, you know, dock workers, and after work, and they go like, yeah, let's have some food and let's go to practice. You know?
Rocky.
That's how they look, because also, you know, they're like their whole expression, you know, the way they look, you could tell they were some tough guys, you know.
They were, yeah.
So, and it just showed in their power, you know, that the way they were built and everything, it showed right away. I have to say, the moves of the rest of the guys, I mean, besides Tony's headspin, you know, what's messed up sometimes is like, you know, for some time I was known for my headspins, you know, so I always had to tell people, of course, you know, like, okay, it's Tony, then also quick step and me, we were practicing a lot, but at some point also quick step, he was like, man, you know, like, where'd you learn your drills from? And then I said, you know, Tony saying, yeah, there was this one guy here in New York, his name was Float. He had drills like that, so I was dying to meet Float as well. I met Float at a later point, you know, I was telling Float about Tony, and I didn't have a chance to show him a video, because, you know, in the days, it was really hard, you know, to transfer European VHS, you know, like the PAL system to NTSC and so on and on. But yeah, I just wish, you know, that Second to None, sometimes they would have been around a little bit more, you know, for some competitions. And I was happy that they were participating at the UK Championships this one time to represent, and that they took it. You know, I was really happy for them guys.
But, a battle that traveling all over the world and talking to so many b-boys in so many countries, that when they talk about Battle of the Year and Second to None, it's always that 92 Battle of the Year final that comes up. They can't believe that you and Swift, these two guys, took on like this super crew, Maurizio and Second to None and Tufton Twist. It blows their mind. What are your memories of that jam, man, that battle? Because it's legendary.
As glamorous as it might look on video for us, I really have to say for me, sometimes I wish that it never happened, because it kind of like broke up the relationship between Second to None and us. Because, you know, like, first of all, we only came to Battle of the Year 92 to enjoy ourselves as spectators. Emilio was somewhere in Africa delivering kitchens with his father. So, you know, like, and you know, Speedy joined up with another crew from Denmark, and no, from Sweden. You know, so that was already something, you know, where we were like, all right, well, Speedy's with them. You know, he decided, you know, so, you know, Swift and me, we weren't participating. But then there were so many people starting to hate us, actually. You know, because, you know, like the year before, we were like the secret, you know, like, okay, it's gonna be them, watch, you know. And then the year after, everybody just wanted our ass, you know. It's like everybody's just like, and Swift and me, we just couldn't have it. We were like, you know, like, why? What's up with these guys, you know? Like, even one of the judges came up to us like, you guys, you just, you know, like, now you just because you think you're not gonna make it, you know, because the guys from England are here, you know they're gonna be first, you know that they're gonna win, and if a judge is telling you that, it really makes you mad, you know. So then Swift just decided to cut his pants because he couldn't even dance in his in his pants. So he got some scissors. Like, he was upset. So he cut his pants, and and I said, all right, let's do this. And so we entered the battle, and we just did our showcase. Was what we used to do in shows when people hired us for galas and stuff. So that's exactly what we were doing. We didn't have anything prepared, but since we were working professionally for some time already, we had a show together. What was funny for us is like for the showcase, we've always done this slow motion skit, where actually it was only there in the beginning. We only did it so we would catch our breath, because when you've done some rigging after a while, you go like, damn, I gotta do another solo. So it was the perfect thing to do, to get back into it, catch some breath, and then go on. So, and that was the first time we did it in front of an audience, and they went mad. We couldn't even hear the music anymore, I remember. So we went back, everybody did his last solo, so we got into the finals, and we ended against second to none, always working tough, and Maurizio. Now in the battle, I really felt bad because also I still had in mind what happened the year before. The year before we were battling Dizzyfoot Tribe, best friends from Berlin. We were always practicing together, and if we were really sharing with anybody in Germany, like what this culture was about, then it was Dizzyfoot Tribe. It was Kai and them. They were best friends. So and after the battle, they kind of like, I don't know. It was just bad vibes because they lost, and at some point there was this moment where Kai Eckermann was going out, and he actually wanted to hug me, saying like, "All right, it's over. We lost." And I kind of like, I was already so much into what I was going to do next that I didn't even see him. So I go into it, past him, and I did my solo where he had the feeling like, oh, so now they really want to crush us completely, like why is he doing that? But it took us some time to talk about it later. First I heard the rumor, I was like, oh, it wasn't even like that, so I called him and